All right, hey, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday morning, January the 27th, 2022, and I hope you're all doing well. Good morning. Good morning to my mom. I love you, Mama. Good morning. Good morning to Ron and Amy, and to John and Jan in Minnesota. Oh, that sounds cold on January 27th. It sounds cold a lot of times. So anyway, hope you guys are doing well. So I guess it's more like after or noon there, but good morning anyway. Good morning, buenos dias to Elva, and good morning to Kathleen. Good evening to Dayspring. Good morning to Elizabeth and Jesse and Philip and Salome, and to Jerry and Janet. Good morning. And let's see here. Oops, why isn't this moving? All right. Good morning to Deanna. And good morning, Deanna. And let's see here. We've got Pastor and Sister Martinez. Good morning to you. Good morning to Kelly Kenfield and to Kelly and Melody Woods. And good morning to Kelly Shepard. And hello, good morning to Barbara Callahan. And I'll say good morning in advance to Joshua. Good morning, Joshua. All right. And I think for now that's everyone. I've titled today's Daily Manna, "When Inaction is the Faithful Action." When inaction is the faithful action, and so it's not. There's a difference between choosing to not act and failing to act. See, those are two different things. Failing to act is a failure, and is somewhat either unintentional or a result of laziness or not paying attention, yada yada yada. Choosing to not act, at times, is the most courageous choice. It's the trusting the Lord. Trusting the Lord to fulfill what He has said He would do, and to not take it into our own hands is easy to talk about. It's hard to do. You know, when we talk about Abraham, here the Lord had given him this massive promise, that I'm going to make you into a great nation, and that through you all the families of the earth will be blessed. And on the basis of that promise, Avram stepped out in obedience, right? And he took his family and they went to a land that they didn't know where they were going. They just knew that they just knew this is where the Lord was leading them. And along the way and over the years, waiting for the first son of the promise to arrive, and yet it didn't happen. And so Abraham began to doubt. He began to wonder, did I misunderstand? Is this gonna be actually through my servant Eliezer? Is it gonna be that way? And then eventually they decide to take it into their own hands, with this idea that with Hagar and Ishmael, and instead of waiting on the Lord, trusting in the Lord, even when it seems like this is taking a really long time. And so yesterday we were looking in Psalm 56, and David was repeating. This is when he's running for his life. When he's been held captive by the Philistines in Gath, just for a little bit. When they're like, "Hey, who is this?" and he's saying, "I keep trusting your word, Lord. I keep trusting your word." When you go to 1 Samuel 21 and you read that story, and it says he became so terrified that, like, hearing them talk, that's when he started acting like a crazy man, drooling down his beard and whatnot. But eventually he says, "I keep trusting in what you've said, Lord. I keep holding on. I keep trusting in what you've said, that you'll do it. I'm not afraid. What can man do to me? Or what can man do to me? What can mere flesh do to me?" And today we're going to look at Psalm 57. And Psalm 57 opens up, and it's sort of on the heels of that. It's a Miktam of David. You read in verse 1, it says, "When he fled from Saul in the cave." There's a couple points where we see him in the cave soon after that occasion in 1 Samuel 21. We read in 1 Samuel 22, it said, so David, the first two verses, so David walked from there and escaped to the cave of Adullam. When his brothers and all his father's house heard about it, they went down there to him. Anyone who was in distress, anyone in debt, and anyone embittered rallied around him. He became their leader. There were about 400 men with him. Right? So you've got him going to the cave, and now he's not all alone. He's got his family, but he's got anyone in distress, anyone in debt, anyone that's embittered, anyone, this is the group that's around you. This is the people that you're surrounded by. And up to this point, David, it's been who can he trust? We had looked earlier in the week when he was among the Ziphites, and then they go to Saul, and Saul kind of says, hey, just let me know where he's at, track his movements, follow him, and then let me know. So the Ziphites are looking, and he doesn't know who to trust. So in 1 Samuel 23, you read through this, when you get to 1 Samuel 22 and then 23, he takes his family down to Moab and says, I want you to stay there. I want you to hide here. And then the Lord sends him back into Judah. And we read in 1 Samuel 24, we're going to look at this story in 1 Samuel 24 before we get into the psalm. Begin in verse 1. Now when Saul returned from pursuing the Philistines, they told him, saying, look, David is in the wilderness of En-Gedi. So Saul took 3,000 chosen men from all Israel and went to search for David and his men near the rocks of the mountain goats. When he came across the sheepfolds along the way where there was a cave, Saul went in to relieve himself. Now David and his men were already sitting in the innermost parts of the cave. So David's men said to him, look, it's the day Adonai spoke to you about. Behold, I will deliver your enemy into your hand, so you may do to him as seems good in your eyes. Then David crept and cut off the corner of Saul's robe stealthily. But afterward, David's conscience bothered him for cutting off the edge of Saul's robe. So he said to his fellow men, Adonai forbid that I do such a thing to my Lord, Adonai's anointed, stretching out my hand against him, for he is Adonai's anointed. So David persuaded his fellow men with these words and did not let them rise against Saul. Then Saul left the cave and went on his way. So here he's talking them down. They're saying, look, this is the provision of the Lord. This is the day God has spoken of. God said, I'm going to deliver him into your hand. And there he is. We're in this random cave in En-Gedi. We're here, and there he is. You can do this. And he takes a piece of his robe and then says, I shouldn't have done that. And they're like, what are you talking about? He talks them down. No, this is the Lord's anointed. I'm not taking this into my hands. David also rose afterward and went out of the cave and called out after Saul, saying, my Lord, the king. When Saul looked behind him, David bowed with his face to the earth and prostrated himself. And then David said to Saul, why do you listen to men's words, saying, look, David intends you harm? Look, he says, behold, but today your own eyes should see how Adonai delivered you into my hand. And I said, I will not stretch out my hand against my Lord, for he is Adonai's anointed. He says, moreover, my father, look, see. He calls him my father. It's his father-in-law. He says, look, my father, look. You look at the corner of your robe in my hand. For in cutting off the corner of your robe, yet not killing you, you should know and realize that there is no evil or rebellion in my hand. I haven't sinned against you, even though you are lying in wait for my life to take it. May Adonai judge between me and you, and may Adonai avenge me of you, but my hand will not be against you. I'm not taking this into my hand. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. I'm going to handle this. Justice is mine. I'm going to deal with this, says the Lord. And David says, I'm trusting the Lord to handle it, and not by my hand. I'm not going to kind of hurry up the process. He continues, as the old proverb goes, out of the wicked comes forth wickedness. He says, but my hand will never be on you. Says if wickedness comes out, that means that says something about the condition of the person. It says, whom has the king of Israel come after? Who are you chasing? A dead dog? A single flea? May Adonai be judged and decide between me and you, and may he see and plead my cause and vindicate me against you. Now when David finished speaking these words to Saul, Saul said, is this your voice, my son, David? And Saul lifted up his voice and wept aloud. And then he said to David, you are more righteous than I, for you've done good to me while I have done evil to you. You've told today how well you've dealt with me, for Adonai had delivered me up into your hand, yet you did not kill me. For if a man finds his enemy, and will he let him go on a good road? May Adonai reward you with good in return for what you've done to me today. Verse 20, now behold, I know for certain that you will be king, and that the kingdom of Israel will rise in your hand. Swear now to me by Adonai that you won't cut off my descendants after me, and that you won't wipe out my name from my father's house. So David swore to Saul, and then Saul went to his home. But David and his men went up to the stronghold. And so you have this encounter where David's in the cave. This is when David is in the cave, fleeing from Saul. And all of these things are going on, and he doesn't take it into his own hand. He says, I know the Lord will do this for me. And so we read then here in Psalm 57, his prayer in the cave. And as he's crying out, and he's on the run again. He's left his parents in Moab. He's come up here. And he says, be gracious to me, O God, be gracious to me, Chaneni. For in you my soul takes refuge. In the shadow of your wings I take refuge until destruction passes by. He says, the cave isn't my refuge. The cave isn't my stronghold or my fortress. It happens to be where I'm at, but it's you, Lord. It's in you that I take refuge. It's in you that I'm hiding. I'm under the shadow of your wings. Right now, this cave, wherever it's the shadow of your wings, you're the one guarding me, and I'm going to wait here until destruction passes by. I'm going to wait, he says. I take refuge. I've run to you, and I'm continuing to run to you till destruction passes by. He says, I will cry out to El Elyon, to God Most High, to God who accomplishes it for me, to God who completes it, who finishes it, who brings it to a conclusion for me, that the Lord is the one who does it. I'm not going to take this into my own hands. He's going to. He will send from heaven and save me. You can almost imagine that perhaps this was sort of what he may have been saying to those when he was talking down the guys in the cave. He will send from heaven. He will dispatch from heaven, from the heavens, and deliver me. Yoshieni, he will save me. He rebukes the one trampling on me. And there's a Selah there, like, just wait. He's the one. He is the one who will do it. God is sending his chesed, his mercy, and his truth. Like, he will. Why? David said, we read in these Psalms all the time where he's talks about how people have risen up against him, people are breathing out lies against him. And he's saying, why are you listening to what everybody else is saying to Saul? You're listening to all this confusion, all these lies, and right now you have proof right in front of you that I am not your enemy. I am not trying to supplant you. I am not trying to take you down. I could have, and I'm not. Don't you see? David is continually fighting against he's fighting against what people are saying, because people don't trust when you're walking in with a heart that is truly after the Lord. When we begin to walk in the ways of the kingdom of God, it's so counterintuitive. When we love our enemies, when we do good to those who are seeking to destroy us, the mindset of an of the world, because of the way the world operates, is don't let your guard down, don't trust. They've got an angle. David's just trying to get close to you because he wants to take you out. Nah, David married your daughter, and he's just waiting for you, and they're whispering this stuff, and he's got his own whispers in his ear. And he also knows the Lord has already said that he's removed. The Lord has removed him. David's not trying to supplant him. The Lord has said, "This day I've rejected you as the king. You were small in your own eyes, but no more. Now you don't listen. You don't obey me. You don't follow me." But so here they're breathing out lies against him, and David's saying, why can't you pay attention? Like, do you take note? I could have killed you, and I didn't. So he's continuing to trust the Lord. He's saying he will send from heaven. He's telling the guys in the cave, he's going to send from heaven and save me and rescue me. He's the one who will rebuke the one who is, the word trampling is shafi, which is panting after me, who is intensely pursuing me. The Lord is going to rebuke the one who is intensely pursuing me. God is sending his chesed and his truth. Truth will prevail. It may take a decade running through the wilderness, but I trust the Lord to vindicate me. Right? He is sending from heaven to save me. I'm sheltered in him. I'm seeking his shelter during this crisis. He says, "My soul is in the midst of lions. I lay down among those breathing fire. Sons of men whose teeth are spears and arrows, whose tongue is a sharp sword." Right? So I'm not, like, even in the cave, surrounded by those who are distressed and in debt, and they're disillusioned, and they're saying, "This is the chance." And perhaps feeling close to, as they're close to David as well, the opportunity to have everything cleared for them, to have everything, they're in this place. They're like, this is the chance to take him. And David's already been surrounded by Ziphites who are spying on him. He's been in places where he's was with the priest, but there was Doeg the Edomite who was there, who went and reported it to Saul, who then goes back and kills all of those priests. All of these kinds of things have happened. So surrounding him, it's not like this is a righteous group of guys necessarily. And he's talking them down. He's surrounded by these sons of Adam that are lions, except their teeth and the things that they're saying. They're throwing their spears and arrows from a distance. He talks about their teeth are spears and arrows. Their tongue is a sharp sword. It's a dagger is the language. Up close, they get me. And in the middle of describing this danger and this crisis, he takes his eyes off of these guys. He takes his eyes off the situation, and he looks up. He calls on the Lord, and he says, "Be exalted, be lifted up. Rise up, O Lord. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth." Right? Your glory. Moses said, "Show me your glory." And the Lord said, "I'm going to put you in the cleft of the rock." And he passes by, and he declares his name, which reflects his glory. And in his name is his character. His glory is the character, the beauty, the amazement of who he is, that he is the Lord, overflowing in chesed, overflowing in truth, abounding. He is full of favor, graciousness, and kindness. He's slow to anger, abounding in love, forgiving transgression and iniquity and rebellion, but not holding the guilty unpunished. He bestows his love, his chesed, on those to 1,000 generations. This is the glory of who he is. The glory of who he is reflected in, there is none like him. He says, let the glory of who you are, let your character, let all that is good, all that your justice rule over all the earth, your love and your truth, let it be over all the earth. Comes back, he says, he looks at his surroundings, and he says, "They spread a net for my steps. My soul is bowed down. They have dug a pit before me. They fell into it themselves." Right? And all of these verbs they're written in a perfect form, saying this is a situation that is finished. It's complete. They spread a net for my steps. My soul was bowed down. They have dug a pit, or they dug a pit. They fell into it themselves, right? The trap that they laid for me, they fell into their own trap. My heart is steady, is steadfast, is secure. It says steady, made secure is my heart. My heart is steadfast. My heart is so steady, I can sing. I will make music, he says. Right? Time for my instruments to wake up. Awake, my glory. Awake, harp and lyre. I will awaken the dawn. Right? In the midst of the darkness, I'm going to sing out till the sun rises. I'm going to wait on the Lord. I'm going to wait through the times of the cave. I'm going to sing out and worship him through the darkness. He says, I will acknowledge you. I will praise you. The word odcha is to know you, to acknowledge you, to make you known. I will make you known, my Lord, among the peoples. I will sing praises to you among the nations, or umim is the language there, is among the tribes. Why? Because of your glory. He goes, because verse 11, because your chesed, your loving kindness is great up to the heavens, and your truth to the skies. Right? Back in verse 4, he had asked the Lord, he said, the Lord will send truth and love. He has dispatched his love and his truth. And that truth and that love, he says, your love is up to the heavens. Your truth is to the skies. God is sending his mercy and his truth. And then as David declares this among the peoples, it's as though he's joining them to call out as he's praising the Lord, where he says, again, be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. I will give thanks to thee, O Lord, among the people. I will sing praises to thee among the nations. For your steadfast love is great to the heavens, and your faithfulness to the clouds. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. You know, one of the things I love, I think one of the reasons David is so beloved to us is because we read the narrative, right, in 1st and 2nd Samuel. We read the stories of what he went through, what he encountered. But we also get that, and sometimes that's from an external view. But with the Psalms, often we get the internal place where he was. Then if we just got the external view, we'd look and we'd say, look at what happened, and it was tough, but he ran and he conquered. And we don't see the ongoing, the struggle, the up and down. Where are you, O God? What's going on? And I'm going to hold firm to you. I'm going to trust in you. And that we get a picture of his journey from the inside with the Lord. And we see him saying, I'm going to walk in righteousness. I'm going to express my trust in the Lord. It says here in Psalm 57, it says, for you have done it for me. I'm not taking this into my own hands. He says, the Lord has done it for me. And again, that doesn't mean it was the end of the struggle for him. You know, in the next chapter in 1 Samuel 25, you have where Samuel has died now. And then you have the story of Abigail but Samuel has died. So now Saul's really probably beginning to freak out. what's going to happen? What's his time frame? What's the deal? We come to let's look at in 1 Samuel 26. The Ziphites are still reporting. In 1 Samuel 26, the Ziphites came to Saul at Gibeah saying, is David not hiding on the hill of Hachilah, which faces Yeshimon? So Saul, what's he doing? He knows David's not his enemy, but Saul arose and went down to the wilderness of Ziph, 3,000 chosen men of Israel with him to search for David in the wilderness of Ziph. Saul camped in the hill of Hachilah, which faces Yeshimon by the road. But David was staying in the wilderness, and he saw that Saul had come after him in the wilderness. So David sent out spies and realized Saul had already arrived. Then David got up and went to the place where Saul had camped. David detected the spot where Saul lay asleep, as well as Abner, son of Ner, his army commander. Saul was lying inside the barricade, and the troops were camped around him. Then David spoke and asked Ahimelech the Hittite and Joab's brother Abishai, son of Zeruiah, saying, who will go down with me to Saul in the camp? I'll go down with you, Abishai answered. So David and Abishai approached the troops by night. Behold, Saul was lying asleep within the barricade, with his spear stuck in the ground at his head. And Abner and the troops were sleeping around him. Then Abishai said to David, God has delivered your enemy into your hand today. Now let me pin him to the ground with a single thrust of the spear. I will not have to strike him twice. I won't miss. But David said to Abishai, do not destroy him. For who can lay his hand on Adonai's anointed and be guiltless? David added, as Adonai lives, either Adonai will strike him down, or his day will come to die. Or he will go down to the battle and be swept away. Adonai forbid that I should lay my hand on the Lord's anointed. Okay, and David's not going, well, it wasn't me. Right? David's not coming with some legalistic roundabout way like, I didn't do it, it's Abishai. No. He says, no. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to be held guiltless. I'm not going to be held guilty and responsible. Either the Lord's going to kill him, or he will die of an old age. His day will come and he will die, or he'll die in battle, but it's not going to be by my hand. Now just take the spear that's at his head in the water jar. Let's go. Just grab his spear, grab his jug, grab his canteen, and let's go. So David took the spear and the water jar from beside Saul's head. They got away. No one saw it, or knew it, or woke up, for all were asleep, for a deep sleep from Adonai had fallen upon them. Then David crossed over to the other side and stood on top of a distant hill with a wide space between them. He's like, I don't trust them. I trust the Lord. I'm going to leave some space here. David shouted to the troops and to Abner, son of Ner, saying, aren't you going to answer, Abner? Then Abner answered, saying, who are you who called out to the king? Aren't you a man, David said to Abner? Indeed, who is like you in Israel? So why didn't you guard your lord the king? For one of the troops came in to kill the king your lord. This thing that you've done is no good. It's not good. As Adonai lives, all of you deserve to die because you've not kept watching over your Lord, Adonai's anointed. So now look around. Where are your king's spear and the water jar that were at his head? So Saul then recognized David's voice and said, is this your voice, David, my son? It is my voice, my lord the king, David said. And then added, yet why is my lord pursuing his servant? What have I done? What evil is in my hand? Now please let the Lord my king listen to the words of his servant. If Adonai had stirred you up against me, let him accept an offering. But if men have done so, then cursed are they before Adonai, because they have now driven me out, that I would not cling to Adonai's inheritance, saying, go worship other gods. Get out of here. Go worship the gods of our neighbors. He's like, if people are stirring you up against me and they're wanting to send me away from what is my inheritance, the God of Israel is my inheritance, then he says, They are cursed before the Lord. So now let not my blood fall to the ground away from the presence of Adonai. For the king of Israel has come out to search for but a single flea, just as one hunts for a partridge in the mountains. And again, David's basically revealed, I've been more protective of you than the men that are surrounding you, that are protecting you. I've guarded you in a way they haven't. Saul replied, I have sinned. Return, David, my son, for I will no longer do you harm, since my life was precious in your eyes this day. Behold, I have played the fool and erred so seriously. David then answered and said, there's the king's spear. Let one of the young men cross over and take it. He returned the stuff. He didn't keep it as a trophy. Adonai will repay everyone his righteousness and his faithfulness. For Adonai gave you into my hand today, but I refuse to lay my hand on the Lord's anointed. See, just as your life was highly valued in my eyes today, so let my life be highly valued in Adonai's eyes, and may he deliver me from all trouble. Then Saul said to David, blessed are you, David, my son. You will both do mightily and will surely prevail. So David went his way, and Saul returned to his place. And so you have, again, this picture of David where he is choosing to not act is the action of faith. Is his action of trusting in the Lord, not taking it into his own hands. When everybody around you is saying, take this into your hands, and he says, I'm going to wait on the Lord, and I'm going to trust in the Lord, and I'm going to let the Lord do this. And I also find it interesting, I don't know about you, my whole life I've heard people like talking about themselves sort of to guard their position in ministry. People in spiritual leadership will say, touch not the Lord's anointed, and they're talking about themselves. And I just want to note, David doesn't refer to himself in that way. You don't see him say, touch not the Lord's anointed about himself. It's never self-serving in that regard. He doesn't say to Absalom, touch not the Lord's anointed. He wouldn't have said it like that anyway. But rather, he speaks of this one who's not acting as the Lord's anointed. This one who's throwing spears and pursuing him and after him. But he says, I'm not going to lay a hand on the Lord's anointed. I'm going to watch my heart. I can't control what they do, but I am responsible for what I do in obedience to the Lord. And he doesn't. And so I've entrusted my life to the Lord. And I'm not just going to give lip service to that, but I'm going to do it by action or by inaction. Not taking it into my own hands. Not saying this is when everybody else is saying, look, the Lord's delivered this into your hands. I want to make sure that I'm walking in obedience. I want the Lord to do it with clarity. And so I could look at Psalm 27 today, but we're not going to for time's sake. And we're also, just to remind everyone, we're going to have Overflow today because I'm going to be pre-recording for tomorrow's Daily Manna. But let's close with this song that I played in the opening. One of my favorites. I'm sure you realize it's one of my favorites by now. Called My Life is in Your Hands. And it's just this expression, us putting our life in God's hands. And even when it seems like I'm in the cave or I'm on the run, but I'm going to say, Lord, I'm trusting in you. I'm hiding in you. My life is in your hands. I'm not taking this into my own hands. I'm waiting on your timing. And when everyone else is panicking, when everyone else is freaking out, I'm not going to freak out. I'm going to wait on you. I'm going to trust in you. I keep trusting in your word. I keep praising your word. I keep holding on to what you said. And, when the faithful action is to not act. You don't have to worry, and don't you be afraid. Joy comes in the morning. Troubles, they don't last always. For there's a friend, Yeshua, who will wipe your tears away. And if your heart is broken, just lift your hands and say, oh, I know that I can take it. I know that I can stand, no matter what may come my way. My life is in your hands. With Yeshua I can take it. With him I know I can stand. No matter what may come my way, my life is in your hands. So when your tests and trials, they seem to get you down, and all your friends and loved ones are nowhere to be found, remember there's a friend, Yeshua, who will wipe your tears away. And if your heart is broken, just lift your hands and say, oh, I know that I can make it. I know that I can stand. No matter what may come my way, my life is in your hand. With Yeshua, I can take it. With him I know I can stand. No matter what may come my way, my life is in your hands. Hallelujah. All right. Let me say good morning to anybody that I missed. Good morning to Charlene, and good morning to Deborah, and to Sonia Tkach. Good morning to Sonia and Margarita as well. Let's see here. Good morning to Kelly Shepard. Good morning, Kelly. Good morning to the Eddies, to Lauren and Mike and David and Valor, Levi and Valor and Haven and Everett. Good morning to you guys as well. And let's see. Let me glance over here. And good morning. Good morning, Tina. How you doing, Tina Fowler? It's good to see you on this morning as well. All right. Well, again, we have the link to the Overflow is in the chat, and it's also in the description. And so if you have some time to join us there, we would love to just connect. All right. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, shalom. Have a beautiful day.